By law, every Indian child has a right to education. But is it worth having? Is it creating a competitive modern state or consigning the country's dreams and ambitions to history? I'm the outsider. This is our motion tonight. Education is sinking India. Speaking for that motion, Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, Chairman and Managing Director of Biocon Limited, government advisor, and named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. And with her, Mohandas Pai, former Chief Financial Officer at the IT giant Infosys. He's now Chairman of Manipal Global Education Services. Against the motion, Fraser Mascarenhas, for the last 9 years, Principal of St Xavier's College here in Mumbai. He's also served on numerous education committees and initiatives. Also against the motion, Pramath Raj Sinha. He's Managing Director of 9.9 Media Works, formerly with McKinsey Consulting. He remains an advisor to the company and serves on the board of their Knowledge Centre. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our panel. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, could I ask you first of all for your top points in support of the motion?
Yeah, I'd like to focus this debate on the criticality of providing the right education and not merely the right to any education, which is what the government is aiming to achieve. And, I really believe that if you start scaling up and expanding substandard education without focusing on quality, I think we have the really serious situation where education can hurt and hinder economic growth and potentially sink us. And, I really believe that our educational system is flawed. We have fundamental flaws in the way we educate our people. We focus on imparting information rather than applying knowledge. And, as a result of this, we assess students in terms of rote learning and remembering as opposed to their comprehension skills and their ability to think, query, and, basically apply knowledge. So, to me, these are very, very important aspects to consider. And if we don't fix these flaws, I'm afraid we will create a, pool of graduates who are going to be unproductive and even incompetent. There are many, many damning statistics that can qualify this statement that I've made. In fact, McKinsey and other reports have actually stated that 75% of our engineering graduates, 80% of our MBA graduates, and 90% of our, professional qualified people are simply not making it to the employability cut. And this is a very, very serious situation. Even OECD, we know, ranked India 71 among 73 countries under the PISA evaluation, which was, which stands for the Program for International Student Assessment.
Could you come to a close?
These are very, very serious indicators which tells you that our educational system has to undergo radical reforms or it will sink us.
Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, thank you very much. You talk about the danger of education hindering economic growth. Sounds strange when you're the second fastest growing economy in the world. Where is this sinking affecting India that you're talking about?
We as a country need to create and provide employment, gainful employment to 500 million people.
Yes, and you have poverty rates falling. You have the number of rich people rising sharply. You have an ever-expanding middle class. Where is the sinking going on? The rest of the world sees India forging ahead.
Yes, so what I'm saying is that if you have to consider the fact that, almost 12 to 20 million people have to join the workforce every year, are you creating the right kind of jobs, or are you going to create notional jobs?
Well, you are creating wealth in India that wasn't there before, that wasn't there 15 years ago, aren't you?
Yeah, but if
You're creating substantial amounts of wealth.
You are, but it's a small ecosystem. You need to expand it. If India needs to realize its aspirations of being a global economic powerhouse by 2050, then no doubt education is the key to this kind of,
Yeah,
growth.
but it's forging ahead. The indicators, many of the indicators, I know you cited some from McKinsey, but many of the indicators are up. We have the human development report in 2011, which said all-round increase in literacy in the country is taking place.
But I think,
all-round increase in literacy.
But
that's not a good step forward.
Very different. If you look at literacy indicators, they're very poor. Today,
they're going up. They're going up.
No, 30% of class 1 students can't even recognize 1 to 10 numbers. Now, these are not good indicators. So literacy is very different to education.
So the Human Development Report didn't know what it was talking about?
Well, it depends how you measure any indicator. It depends what is important for a country.
Education is reaching parts of society.
Education is very different, Tim, to literacy.
You're halving the number of girls who were excluded from school before. That's gone down between 2006 and 2011. That's gone down by 5%.
So there's no debate that education is very important. But
there's no debate that it's actually getting better.
It may be, but you need
the right direction.
No, you need the right kind of education, and you have to scale it up fast. We don't have the time. We don't have the luxury of time to experiment and grow slowly.
Kira Mazumdar-Shaw, thank you very much indeed. Could I ask, please, Fraser Mascarenhas to speak against the motion? Your top points against the motion, please.
Yes, I think I'm speaking not just as a principal of St. Xavier's College, but I'm also associated with a whole group of schools and colleges across the country which are run by the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus. And I've also been associated with different think tanks at Delhi and elsewhere. I have visited schools and colleges across the country and even abroad at the invitation of the governments of UK, the US, recently Australia. And I think from this experience, I'm very hopeful of the type of education that is taking root in the country. Please look and see that we have fantastic human resource. And the indication of that is all the students from India, or a large majority, are doing exceedingly well abroad in the highest competitive universities. We also have academicians. In any of the top universities of the world, you have Indian academicians. Now, could they reach those levels if they came out from a vacuum? They have had a very good foundation here, and that's the reason why they are not only doing well in universities, they are doing well in business, in entrepreneurship, in research across the world. Secondly, I have been associated with the Government of India efforts. For example, with a group of professors from Mumbai, we met the Prime Minister of our country, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and we talked about, in this global world, by 2020, India will be one of 2 countries to have a surplus workforce. And we said we need to give our students global skills. And his response was very clear. He says, and if we don't do that, imagine the type of social unrest that our country will see. And so he was seized of the urgency and the importance of education. And the government, I think, has been doing its bit to kickstart education and to take it along the right direction.
Could you close, please?
Yes. Finally, I think it's really also the hope of the country that civil society is also getting its act together and supporting education. I would give just the example.
Please, no, we need to come to a close.
Yes,
please.
okay.
Please. Fraser Mascarenhas, thank you very much indeed. I want to talk about this fantastic resource that you say education is. 1.25 million teachers. That's the deficit. That's what you don't have in this country. 1.25 million. How can you say it's a fantastic resource when you're short of so many teachers?
Well, I think, it's very clear that education has expanded because of the expanding population. Overnight, you cannot get those teachers.
How is education expanding when in Uttar Pradesh, for instance, in 1,000 primary schools, they have not one qualified teacher? What kind of education is expanding under those circumstances? Not one qualified teacher.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Because of the expansion, we cannot really man all these schools that have been started. So that part, of course, is the darker side of the story.
You can't man all of them. You can't man many of them, can you? You can't man many of them.
Yeah, but the expansion has been needed, and it has been, you know, all
at the cost
of
of standards. 60% of grade 4 children cannot read at grade 2 level, according to the World Bank report. 76% of grade 4 children can't do simple division in mathematics.
No, I think every country in the world is experiencing this. For example, in the US...
We're talking about India here.
No,
we're talking about standards in India here. You say it's a fantastic resource.
Would it be possible for me to make a comparison? Because, for example, President Obama, speaking to children in America, said very clearly, if you do not buck up and compete with the Indian and Chinese children, your jobs will be taken by them. In America, it's very clear that they are hyping up the type of results. There are a lot of studies done by Americans.
They're not getting the dropout rates that you're getting. 1 in 4 children leaving before grade 5, almost half before grade 8. You're getting huge dropout rates.
That is something we have to address. But I'm talking about the country moving in a direction in which the government has seen that
it can't
and
move
is investing.
Unless the resources are there. You don't have the teachers, and the teachers you do have are not up to standard, are they?
Yes, but
you have teachers. I mean, we've been reading in the press in Mumbai this week. You have teachers who beat up students. No wonder a large number of them don't even want to go to school.
Well, as long as they're not shooting people, as is happening in other parts of the world, I don't think we are the worst off.
Beating up is okay.
I don't think we are the worst off.
Beating up is fine, is it?
It's not fine.
Beating up's all right.
Fine. We have to address those issues.
As long as they're not cutting their heads off in class, that's fine. All right, Fraser Mascarenas, thank you very much indeed. Mohandas Pai, could I ask you for your top points in support of the motion, please?
I support the motion that education is sinking India. In the primary school education, we have about possibly 65% of students completing Standard 10. Completing in the sense they go through Standard 10, they do not pass Standard 10. Only about 30% of students go through Standard 12. 17% of children in the age group of 18 to 24 finish college. And out of the 17%, 40% do a course called arts, which almost has no meaning. And then if you look at the education system, in the top 400 universities in the world, as per the Times ranking, there's only one university from India. If you look at the Shanghai ranking out of top 500, there's only one university from India. And if you look at research papers, India produces something like about 40,000 research papers. China is 150,000. America is 250,000. The impact analysis says India's impact is only 3%. China is some 8%. The United States is maybe 25%. So if you look at access to education, number of children completing, where education is failing India. If you look at higher education, education is failing India. And if you look at the policies that government has for higher education, about 60% of colleges are run by politicians who do it to milk the public and take money. And if you look at this IIT system, which is God's own system, 82% of people who go to IIT go to cramming schools for 1 or 2 years. And after they finish the cramming school, they come into IIT. In the first year, they don't do well, if you ask the professors. And 500,000 kids sit down for an examination where there are 10,000 seats. No country in the world disappoints 490,000 young people in the brightest years of their life by a very bad system. Even if you look at the IIMs, about 80% of the people go to cramming schools. So we create an educational infrastructure which is very elitist, which is anti-poor, which does not take care of India's need. Yes, like Tim said, India has grown at 7% a year for the last 25 years. But India could have grown at 9% like China. And I won't take China now as an example. Our literacy rate is 74%. China is 97%. China has got 30 million young people in colleges. We got only about 16, 17 million young people in colleges. China has gone ahead twice what India has done. So I believe, compared to a potential, our education system is sinking India.
All right, Mohandas Pai, thank you very much indeed. You say no country is disappointing its young people like India.
Yes.
You haven't looked at Spain recently. The 50% unemployment rates, people between ages 18 and 24. You don't think that is more disappointing than the 8% graduate unemployment rate that you have here in India?
Well, Spain,
considerably more, isn't it?
Well, I don't believe the 8% is right, because the data that government of India collects is not right. But if you look at Spain, they're not starving. They're not on the streets. They're not in Srinagar throwing stones. They're not in eastern India taking to guns and becoming Maoists. They're not going on the streets and joining politics.
But there is also another India that is progressing in world class, isn't there? As we pointed out earlier, the second fastest growth rate in the world. This is a huge achievement. Yeah, something must be fueling that, and obviously education is fueling it, because these big industries, like the one you used to work at, Infosys, are finding the people they need, one way or the other.
Yes.
They're finding the people they need.
Yes, Tim, you're right. the big companies are finding people. When I was HR director in Infosys, I hired 150,000 people in 5 years. But to hire 150,000 people...
And you worked with colleges. You set up Campus Connect,
yes,
didn't you?
We had to look
you
at
worked with colleges.
We had to look at 5 million resumes. The cost of getting these people in, the cost of training these people, the hassles of training them, the lack of productivity of these people is enormous. So the pain of doing whatever you to do succeed in India is so very high.
I wonder if you're the same Mohandas Pai, who wrote in Forbes magazine earlier this year that India has an enviable higher education infrastructure. You praised the fact that it's got 530 universities, 26,000 colleges, 3.5 are engineering courses.
Yes, I did that.
3 million people in engineering courses. You praised it to the heights. Now it's gloom and doom.
No, I praised it to the height compared to what we have done in the past, but compared to the potential India has of becoming the fastest growing economy in the world, the leading economic power, our education system is sinking India.
If education but more children have access to education than ever before. According to the government in India, in 2008, 94% of India's rural population lived within 1 kilometre of a primary school.
Absolutely.
Not bad, is it?
It's very right. It's taken us 60 years.
It doesn't matter, but it's there. You're a poor country.
It is there. We are
a desperately poor country.
But we are not poor enough that we don't educate our children. 400 million children haven't had education last 60 years.
You're poor enough that you're not feeding 2.1 million children a year who are dying before the age of 5. 1 million of those are dying before they're 6 months old. So you're poor enough that you can't feed 2 million children a year.
Yes, we are poor enough that we don't feed these children, but we are rich enough that we have these IITs where we subsidize 800,000 rupees a year per year so that 100 children die so one child can go to the IIT system. Now, Tim, I want to add another point to this higher education debate. Yes,
briefly,
we have 260,000 young Indians studying outside. It is so difficult to get in the IITs, you can get into an MIT. What kind of system is it in India that you create a college where it's so difficult to get into
It's quite an achievement that they can get in there, isn't it?
It's an achievement
quite an achievement that they get accepted to the top colleges in the world. That's my point.
You got to go to a cramming school and waste 2 years of your life, and when you come out, you're almost brain dead.
All right, Mohandas Pai, thank you very much indeed. Now let me please ask Pramath Rajsinha to speak against the motion. Your top points, please.
Tim, my first top point is that you have us on the wrong sides. These two people who are actually for the motion
often the case,
have actually benefited from the education system in this country. Biocon and Infosys would actually not have happened if we didn't have a great education system in the country. So it's actually Father Mascarenhas and I who are actually fighting the sinking battle and trying to get us out of this morass by creating and running institutions. I'm here because of my record of being involved with setting up the Indian School of Business. Kiran is on the board, which has within a period of 7 years become one of the top 20 business schools in the world. I'm now involved in creating a university. I'm involved in launching a program called the Young India Fellowship and so on. It's with that context that I'm here. Firstly, I think that we have traditionally had a strong foundation. That point has been made. Are things wrong with the Indian education system? Absolutely. Everything that has been said about what is wrong is absolutely true. We all know it. But I think we need to get on with it. There's a question of looking at the glass half full or half empty. I think we are not sinking. Sinking is too strong a statement to make. I think things have actually bottomed out. Things have turned around. And the reason they have turned around is that we are all sick and tired of hearing about these problems. So there's a bunch of us, and actually that includes all for us of sitting around this table, who are actually going out and trying to fix things in our small way. There are problems with health in India, with corruption in India, with governance in India, with politics in India, with urban infrastructure in India, with agriculture in India. There's problems with everything. And the simple reason for those problems is the massive amounts of population that we have. I think the good news is that we are past that point where we were sinking. I think the initiatives that people are taking in building schools, in Mohandas Pai runs Akshay Patra Foundation, where he feeds 1.5 million kids every day so that they can go back to school. These kinds of initiatives are what give me hope that it is not sinking. Are things wrong? Absolutely. Is it sinking? Not anymore.
Thank you very much indeed. How can you get on with it when you don't have the teachers to get on with it? Pramath Rajsinha, how can you get on?
I agree that we don't have teachers, but there are equally efforts underway to fix that. So Azim Premji is putting in $2 billion to build Azim Premji University that is only...
And how many teachers will that have?
I don't know the numbers.
Well, it's not going to have much to deal with India as a whole, is it? 21.34% of your teachers actually have no professional qualification to get up in front of a class.
Absolutely.
None whatsoever.
Somebody has to fix that problem.
But they're not fixing it. The government has actually allowed them to stand up in class.
So we can keep blaming the government.
With no qualification. Well, who else is going to do with it?
No, the private sector will fix it. And people are fixing it. So Premji is fixing it.
The private sector can fix India by itself.
I think it can't completely fix, but somebody has to, and they are taking a charge to do that. I mean, Father Mascarena has gone ahead and, become an autonomous institution. This is the first college in the university system that has done that. Why? Because he's taking the initiative to do that. We are all fighting the system to make it better.
And where are the centers of excellence that are going to lift India out? You have not a single Indian university in the world's top 100.
You will see it in the next 10 years. You will see it in the next 10 years.
In the 50s, you shone in universities.
It'll turn around. But
you can go on saying it, and you can go on quoting Mr. Premji, but he's not going to save India single-handedly, is he?
No, he's not. But so you don't have the facts. There's Shiv Nadar, who's building a university, Rajendra Pawar, who's building an NIT university, there's Jindal Global University. We are building Ashoka University. ISB has already proved that model.
The facts are that 3 years ago, 2 Indian states who took part in the international testing system, which is known as PISA, out of 74 regions worldwide, the 2 states managed to beat only Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia.
Tim, you can only go up
those
from
are the
there.
facts.
You can only go up from
you could
there.
be worse than Kyrgyzstan
next time.
No, you can only
go up from there.
No, you can go down one more place.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? All right. Pramath Raj Sinha, thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, a question to the audience. If you could have your education all over again, would you choose to have it in India or somewhere else? Answers in a moment. Join us then.